put in your application and the employer has reached out to you, requested an interview. So what do you do next? Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Shanvira K. Shepherd. I share tips and information on self-help, self-care, self-development, confidence, relationships, etc. So we're here to develop ourselves to help others. Now, I've been a part of many search committees, and I was also an interview scribe at another company. And so as a search committee member, I actually went through the selection process and was a part of the process of interviewing candidates, being able to ask questions, and taking them through that interview process, and then also being a part of selecting the candidate that we wanted to hire. As an interview scribe, I wasn't necessarily a part of the search committee, but I would just assist a particular candidate with going through that process. So whether if that's through orientation, doing their day in the life, and then also being in the room with the managers and the leads to actually conduct the interview. So I would be the person typing their answers and being able to, again, bring them in and then exit them out of the building at that time. So in this video, I'm going to share 5 tips that I've learned as being an interview scribe or being a part of that search committee that will help you when you are applying for a job. So now, whether if you're applying for fast food, retail, or maybe even an executive position, and even the company that you work for, obviously the questions are going to be different, or that process, even going through that interview, is going to be different. But I would just say that these tips that I would share will give you an outline of what you could actually look for. First tip is you want to make sure that you answer your questions fully and honestly. Okay. And the reason why I say this is I've been a part of the process where, candidates would give like broad answers. So for example, if the question was, tell me about a time where you dealt with a difficult customer and what was the outcome of resolution, or give me a scenario or something in that nature. And normally when they're asking these questions, they're asking for a specific situation, not to give a broad answer. And what I've found is that, people will give answers like, well, I work at, I don't know, Best Buy or something. And, people come in and they, want to purchase products and all of that stuff. And so, I handle difficult customers all the time. And, and so they're just kind of talking in this broad perspective. And then they may start jumping from different situations. So they may say, well, I, was working with this customer once, and, they saw online that we had the iPhone 16. It was in a certain color. And then they came into the store to purchase the phone, and actually we did not have it. Someone had already bought the phone. Then there was another time where I was dealing with this older guy, and he was frustrated because he couldn't get this product to work. And so you see where I'm going with this is that I asked for a specific scenario, a specific situation of you working with a difficult customer, and how did you resolve that situation. I didn't ask to give me, broad information or to jump from different scenarios. And I find that that's an issue a lot of times in interviews. Instead, we're going to use that scenario where the person comes in to purchase iPhone 16 and it's not in stock. So even when you're answering the question, you want to answer it in what we call the STAR method. So that means you want to give the situation, the task, the action, and the result or the resolution. And so when you're giving or telling the story, that's basically going to be the situation. But in the situation, you want to include that specific task, the action, and the result. So let's just say we're using that same example of the person coming in to buy the iPhone 16. They saw that there was one in stock left online. They go into the store, they speak with you, and you say, let's say you bring them over to your station or your computer, and you're like, okay, great, I'm going to look it up. They said, I want it in, I don't know, I don't have an iPhone. So whatever colors that it comes in says pink. I don't know. So we have the pink iPhone 16. I want that one. I saw there was one online. And then you look it up and you notice like somebody had come in like 30 minutes prior and purchased the phone. So now you have to deliver this bad news to this person. And now this is where you take the interviewer through that process of, what the task, action, and the result was. And so, once you have to deliver that news to them. So again, we've talked about, what the task is. You're the person who that customer came to, right? So they came to you, you had to take them over to your station and then look this phone up to see if it was in stock and all of that. So that was your task. That's what you had to do. Now, what was the action, those action steps in that particular task? And so this is where you have to deliver the bad news and tell that customer that we do not have this iPhone 16 in stock that's in pink. This was purchased by another customer about 30 minutes ago. I do apologize. And then now, so what do you do from there? Maybe you try to offer them to get in a different color or try to get the iPhone 15 or something. And they're not satisfied with that. So then you are able to see online that the iPhone 16 will be in stock again, maybe in 2 weeks. So then you offer this person to, maybe take their phone number and that you'll call them once they get it in stock. And then that person agrees to that option and then they're satisfied and they go about their business. So you just took that interviewer, a person through one situation, one task, and then you walk them through, how that whole situation went from beginning to end. So that's what you want to do, is make sure you're answering your questions thoroughly and honestly. The second tip is you want to make sure that you're doing research on this company and the position. Now, don't get me wrong. I know, a lot of times when we're in buys and we have a lot going on, we're just putting applications everywhere. We're just throwing those applications out there because we know we need a job. We're trying to get money. We got families to take care of, whatever. But I think that, let's just say that's not really the situation that you're in, and you're being strategic and you're being mindful and intentional about these applications that you're putting in. So you want to make sure that you're doing research not on the company, but also on the position itself. And I say position because even in some of the questions that you answer, you may want to include, some of the things that you know about the company in those particular answers. And so a lot of times you'll have companies, they'll ask a question like, well, tell us a little bit about yourself, or, tell us, maybe why did you decide to apply for this job? Even if they ask you that question about tell us a little bit about yourself, going back to answering those questions, just make sure that you're highlighting stuff about yourself. That's a time for you to tell them about who you are. You can, tell them, the interviewer, about some of your experience that relates to that job. Again, maybe you've worked in retail, you did that for the past 10 years, worked in customer service, you did this, you did that, where you're working now. Then you could talk about maybe some of your hobbies and interests and how long you've lived in the town or whatever, and just highlight some maybe 5 or 6 points. They're trying to get to know you. And when you get into, more of, tell us why did you decide to apply for this job? That's where you want to actually, talk about the company or talk about how they align with you. So whether it was their core values and it aligns with your core values. Maybe is the company is, good with like community, like philanthropy work and volunteering and all of that stuff. Maybe you were, attracted to, the diversity in the company. And so these are things you can say, I visited your website. I saw this, I saw that, and point out these different things and how that aligns with your goals and your values. So it's really, really important. I'm telling you, it's going to get you some brownie points. If you do research on the company and you start to highlight certain things, their mission, their values, and the different things that they do and what they're about, and you tell them like, hey, this is what attracted me to you all, I'm telling you, it'll definitely put you high on the point scale. Now, the third tip is soft skills is a plus. Okay. So I want you to understand, I think that sometimes we get caught up in all of like the technicalities of things, and we're applying for these jobs and wanting to, make sure we have all these qualifications and we have all these skills and all of these things. And that's great because you do. And especially depending on what type of job you're applying for, if you're going into some type of work like, IT or something where you have to have like specialized knowledge or skills, then that may rank higher, because of you having to have that prior experience. But if that's not that type of job, maybe again, you're trying to get an entry level or, just again, a regular position, then you may not have to, worry about just trying to hit all of the skills or requirements to the T. Because I'll tell you this, if you have someone who looks good on paper, but in that interview, they're not so good. They're going to choose that person that may not have hit all of the skills that was necessary, but based on their interview, they're like, okay, they have those soft skills that we're looking for. Because the thing about it is, they could train you on hard skills. I mean, most companies, that's what they do. When you start, they have to train you anyway. So they know that at the end of the day, we're going to train this person. They're going to have to get to know our systems. So it doesn't matter if you worked at, in retail, you worked at, Target, and now you're applying for Walmart or whatever. Like, we're going to teach you how things operate over here. But if you are a good team player, if you are courteous, if you are agile, if you are a hard worker, time management is on point, you a problem solver, all of those things are innate. Okay. Those are inner skills, your soft skills that can't really be taught. Okay. It's either you have it or you don't have it. So having those soft skills is a plus. You definitely don't want to try to fake it, because at the end of the day, if it's not in you, it's definitely going to shine in that interview. Now pause here. If you are liking this video so far, make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe, and post in the comment section if you are relating to any of these tips, or if you would like to share tips with us in regards to what you've experienced during your interview process, or if you have been a part of a search committee or have been an interview scribe in the past yourself. And we'll get back to the video. Now, the fourth tip that I'm going to share with you is, make sure that you always have questions to ask. Okay. So after the interview is complete, most employers may ask those questions like, well, do you have any questions for us? Or is there anything else that you would like us to know about you? If I tell you anything, this is going to be important as well. Make sure you ask questions. Okay. I don't come up with something. But if you have done your research on the company, I would think you would have questions. Don't just say, oh, well, I checked everything out and everything seemed to be self-explanatory, so no, you better come up with something. Ask some type of question. I would say at least have 3 questions to ask. And especially if certain things had not been touched at that point, as far as like salary negotiation, maybe the hours that you're going to be working, if certain things have not been discussed, that is going to be a good time for you to talk about those things, because you would hate to not have asked the questions. They don't know what to tell you, and say they didn't bring it up, and then they offer you the job, and then they tell you after the fact your hours, and you don't want to work those hours. You like, hold up, wait a minute. But had you addressed that in the interview process, then you wouldn't be in that situation. So if you know that working certain hours is important to you, you definitely want to touch on that. If you know that you've dealt with a bad supervisor or a bad manager in the past, and that is important to you as well, and you may ask about leadership, ask that question. You want to come up with something, especially if it's important to you and you look back on previous jobs that you had, and maybe you can talk about or ask questions related to things that you liked at other jobs or things that you didn't like, and you want to see what that culture is, what the environment is at the job that you're applying for. So you don't want to put yourself in any position to apply for a job that that you're just not going to like, and then in a couple weeks, few months or whatever, you find yourself quitting. But this is also a time for you to shine your light. And like I said, if they ask that question of is there anything else that you want to tell us about you, that's a time for you to highlight some things that you may not have had a chance to talk about during that interview process. And it could be if you've reviewed the requirements and the job description, there may be things that you want to let them know that skills that you have or things that you've done in the past that relates to that position. So it could be, say they require you to type certain amount of words per minute. So you may say, I've typed 50 words per minute, whatever. Maybe they require you to be proficient in Google Suite or Microsoft Office. Those are things that you want to highlight and tell them that you have that experience in, just kind of wrapping things up. But that's also a time for you to shine your light as well. The last and final tip is be personable and authentic. Okay. They are hiring a person and not a robot. So when you go into that interview process, you let your personality shine, and that's what they want. You don't have to go in there being super serious. They want you to be authentic, obviously, and be yourself, but they want you to also be personable, be relatable, maybe joke about, the weather or your commute there. Maybe you got stuck in traffic or something, or I don't know, just kind of sparking up some small talk or whatever, just letting them in on, who you are and how you operate, and that, hey, I'm a regular person. You can get to know me on this kind of more personable, relatable level, because this is the person that you'll work with if you choose me. So just be yourself, let your light shine, and I'm telling you, you'll definitely do good. Hopefully these 5 tips will help you during your job search process. So good luck to you, and I'll see you in the next video.